Let's take a look quickly at what the definition of a slasher film might be. A slasher film is a subgenre of horror films that involves a killer or a group of killers who stalk and murder a group of people, typically using bladed or sharp tools. And while the term slasher may sometimes be used informally as a general term for any horror film involving murder, film analysts identify a specific set of characteristics that distinguish slasher films from other horror subgenres. Slasher films generally follow a particular pattern. A past wrongful action leads to significant trauma, which is often triggered by a commemoration or an anniversary that reactivates the killer. These films often include stalk and murder sequences and engage the audience's emotions such as catharsis, recreation, and displacement. And sometimes these are also related to sexual pleasure. Slasher villains are often human killers whose actions are considered objectively evil because they are bound by human morality. This concept plays on the fear that killers can exist in real-life society. Now, there's no real evidence to see where the term slasher film was coined. People say that it was, it came from a lot of reviews from people like Siskel and Ebert when they'd be reviewing like the sequels from Friday the 13th films. It's just something that came into the lexicon while describing these 80s teen stalk and slash movies. Horror films have been around since cinema has existed, You obviously had the Universal monsters. It's kind of hard to generate an origin point to slasher films. You'll get people that'll say it started with Hitchcock's Psycho. And then you'll get people that say, oh no, it started with Peeping Tom. Oh no, it started with Bob Clark's Black Christmas. But I think a general audience will say that it really kicked off and started booming after the release of John Carpenter's Halloween. Slasher films were born not only out of John Carpenter's Halloween, they certainly were kicked off by that, setting off this slew of copycats, but they also were born out of Hitchcock's work. And the Italian giallo films were just gaining lots of popularity. So it took everything from these other areas and kind of made it its own amalgamation that became the modern day slasher film. And no matter where you lie, those are films that are significant to the start of the slasher film. And of course, the slasher boom started with Halloween in 1978. Now, film historians will say that 1978 until around the mid-80s was the golden age of the slasher film, where there were hundreds, even thousands of these films being made.